Have you ever wondered why a simple McDonald's hamburger costs so much more today? Your parents or grandparents might tell you stories about buying one for just a few cents. Now you need several dollars. It seems strange, doesn't it? After all, McDonald's is bigger and better at making burgers than ever before. They have super efficient kitchens, a global supply chain, and serve millions of people every single day. When a company gets that good at doing something, you would expect the price to go down, not up. It's a real puzzle that leaves many people scratching their heads and reaching deeper into their pockets. The price of a McDonald's burger is a great way to see how the value of our money has changed. Think about it, the burger itself hasn't really changed that much. It's still a beef patty, a bun, pickles, onions, ketchup, and mustard. The company has perfected the process of making them quickly and cheaply. They buy ingredients in enormous quantities, which gives them huge discounts. They have designed their restaurants to be burger-making machines. So, if the burger is the same and the company is more efficient, why does the price keep climbing year after year? It doesn't seem to make any sense. This isn't just about McDonald's. You see this pattern almost everywhere you look. The cost of candy, movie tickets, cars, and houses has all gone up dramatically over time. It's so common that we just accept it as normal. We expect things to be more expensive next year than they are today. But we should question this. Why should we have to pay more for the same products, especially when companies are constantly innovating and finding ways to produce them for less? The problem isn't with the companies making the products. The problem is with the money we use to buy them. The simple answer that most people give is inflation. They say it like it's a law of nature, something unavoidable like the weather. But it's not. Inflation is not some mysterious force that just happens on its own. It's the result of specific decisions made by people in powerful positions. Understanding this is the first step to understanding why your money buys less and less each year. The rising price of your hamburger is a clue, pointing to a much bigger story about how our economic system really works. It's a story the politicians and bankers don't like to talk about. In a truly free market, prices for most things should fall over time, not rise. This is because of human ingenuity and competition. Think about technology. The first computers were giant machines that filled entire rooms and cost millions of dollars. Today, the smartphone in your pocket is thousands of times more powerful and costs a tiny fraction of that. This happened because companies competed to make better and cheaper products. They innovated, improved their factories, and found more efficient ways to do things. The result was that consumers got an amazing product for a much lower price. This is progress. The same principle should apply to almost everything, including hamburgers. When Ray Kroc started franchising McDonald's, he introduced the speedy service system. This was a revolutionary way to make food fast and cheap. Over the decades, McDonald's has only gotten better at this. They've introduced robots, better inventory systems, and more efficient ways to train their staff. Every one of these improvements should have pushed the price of a hamburger down. If the cost of making the burger goes down, competition should force the company to pass some of those savings on to you, the customer, to win your business. Imagine a world where this was the norm. Each year, your money would buy a little bit more. Your allowance or the money you earn from a part-time job would have more power. You could save up for something you want, and by the time you had the money, the item might even be cheaper. This would be a world where your savings grow in value just by holding on to them. This kind of world, called a deflationary environment, rewards savers and encourages people to be responsible with their money. It's a world where the standard of living for everyone naturally rises over time because things become more affordable. But that's not the world we live in. Instead, we live in a world where prices constantly rise. Our savings lose value every year, and we feel a constant pressure to spend our money before it becomes worth less. This isn't because companies like McDonald's have become greedy or inefficient. In fact, they have become more efficient. The reason prices go up is due to a hidden force that works against this natural tendency for prices to fall. That force is the deliberate and constant expansion of the money supply by our government and the banking system. So what is this inflation that everyone talks about? It's simple. Inflation is an increase in the supply of money. When the government and banks create more money out of thin air, the value of each individual dollar goes down. Think of it like this. Imagine you are on an island with 9 other people, and there are only 10 rare seashells that everyone uses as money. Each seashell is very valuable. Now imagine someone discovers a beach with thousands of identical seashells and floods the island with them. Suddenly your one seashell isn't so special anymore, it's worth a lot less. This is exactly what happens with our money. The government, through its central bank like the Federal Reserve, can create new digital dollars with a few keystrokes. They don't have to print physical cash anymore. They can just add numbers to a computer screen. They do this when they want to spend more money than they collect in taxes. Instead of making the tough choice to cut spending or raise taxes, they simply create the money they need. This new money then flows into the economy, increasing the total number of dollars chasing the same amount of goods and services. When there are more dollars chasing the same number of hamburgers, the price of each hamburger must go up. It's not that the hamburger has become more valuable, it's that the dollar has become less valuable. This is the hidden tax of inflation. The government gets to spend new money that it didn't have before, but in the process, it makes every dollar you have saved worth a little bit less. Over time, this effect adds up, which is why a hamburger that cost 15 cents in the 1960s can cost over $3 today. The burger hasn't changed, but the value of a dollar has been destroyed. This process is often confusing, and politicians like it that way. They talk about rising prices as if it's a complex economic phenomenon caused by corporate greed or supply chain problems. While those things can have a short-term effect, the root cause of persistent long-term price increases is always the same. The government is creating too much money. They are diluting the value of your savings to pay for their programs. It's a sneaky way to take wealth from citizens without having to send them a tax bill. Give me a break. Why would the government and banks want to do this? Why would they choose a system that makes our lives more expensive? The answer is that inflation makes their jobs much easier. For the government, inflation is a form of hidden taxation that allows them to spend far more than they could otherwise. If they had to pay for all their spending with direct taxes, citizens would get angry and vote them out of office. But by creating new money, they can fund wars, social programs, and bailouts without sending you a bill. The bill comes later in the form of higher prices at the grocery store and the gas pump. Furthermore, inflation helps the government manage its massive debt. The United States government owes trillions of dollars. When the central bank creates inflation, it makes those past debts easier to pay back. They can repay their loans with dollars that are worth less than the dollars they originally borrowed. It's like borrowing $100 from a friend and then paying them back a year later with money that can only buy what $90 could have bought before. It's a quiet default on their obligations, and it punishes the people and countries who were responsible enough to lend them money in the first place. Banks also love inflation. The modern banking system is based on something called fractional reserve lending. This means that when you deposit money in a bank, they are allowed to lend out most of it to someone else. When the central bank creates new money and injects it into the banking system, it gives banks more base money to lend out, allowing them to create even more loans and collect more interest. It's a system that benefits those who are closest to the money printer, like big banks and financial institutions, at the expense of ordinary people who save. If we lived in a world without this constant inflation, our lives would be very different. Your savings would grow in value over time. You wouldn't feel the constant pressure to spend your money immediately. Companies would be forced to pass on their efficiency gains to you in the form of lower prices. A McDonald's hamburger would get cheaper, not more expensive. We would all become wealthier over time just by the nature of human progress. Instead, we are stuck on a treadmill, where the government and banks make our money worth less every year, just to make their own lives easier. And that is the real reason your hamburger costs so much.